Welcome back to the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. We continue our discussion. We talked Pirates already. Let's shift to the Penguins. Multiple reports have come over some time now about the possibility of a Phil Kessel trade. Tim Benz, we'll start with you about this because I know you had something about this in the trip earlier in the week, but we'll start with this. Just how much validity to it? How much should it be a priority in the offseason? And what are we looking at as far as a potential return?
Yeah, well, what I wrote in the Trib was basically a link to something that our colleague at the Trib and 105.9 The X, Mark Madden, had written. I know that Ron has alluded to this in the past. This has been in various websites, too, including Pittsburgh Hockey Now, that the Penguins might try to move Phil Kessel. And this is not a media conspiracy to drive Phil out of town like they did in Toronto, as the Phil Kessel Defense Foundation on Twitter would have you believe. In fact, I don't even know a lot of the media members who are reporting that this might happen actually endorse the idea of a trade. From a hockey standpoint, I still think you need to get a lot in return, but the bristly, hyperbolic reaction from the fan base that the Penguin media contingent that covers them has the onus or responsibility to treat Phil Kessel with kid gloves, to me, is disgusting. It's so far over the top. The information is just being put out there. Whether they do it or not, we'll see. But they still need to clear some cap space if they want to try to help the blue line or get some more scoring depth throughout the team. And that might come at the expense of Phil Kessel. It's that simple.
Hey, look, I don't care if they trade the guy or not. I think that he'd be best suited to stay here in Pittsburgh and that the Penguins would be best suited for him to be on their hockey club. I just wonder if he was hurt or not in the last 7 games of the playoffs. And we're never going to know the answer. It seems like there was disconnect between the general manager and the coach. Phil Kessel never spoke to the media. I don't understand why Phil Kessel just didn't show up and say, I was hurt or I wasn't hurt. And until that happens, and again, I don't really care, but until that happens, I think people are well within their rights to wonder if he was hurt or if he was just bad.
Well, my understanding is they wouldn't have even minded trading him after last season. And I think they're going to run into the same problem this time. I fully expect him to be back. I don't think anybody is going to want him with the salary he has for 4 more years. He's not an easy guy to coach. That's why there was so much concern about Rick Tocchet leaving. He was kind of the Kessel whisperer. I expect him to be back, but I think you talk about, Colin, a disconnect with the coach and GM. I think there's a real disconnect with the coach. Phil played through those injuries late in the year to keep his Iron Man. The coach trusted him, and then he did absolutely nothing in the playoffs. He stunk. He was terrible. All I can tell you is the coach said he's no worse than anybody else in terms of injuries, nothing significant. That tells me he stunk in the playoffs, and I think the coach is angry, frustrated, and feels let down because Kessel let him down by playing through those injuries.
Yeah, and Colin, just to piggyback on the point you made about the whole injury thing, because I'm right there with you. I don't care if Phil Kessel ever talks to the media 9 days out of 10.
Right.
Here's something for all the people who are trying to suggest that this is a media push to move him somewhere else. Personally, I've wanted him to talk once, and it's that day that Colin is talking about, locker cleanout day. Aside from that, he's the worst soundbite on the team. The English as a second language guys are better soundbites than Phil Kessel. I really don't care if he ever talks. This has nothing to do with why people are reporting this. People are reporting this because I'm sure Ron's sources are similar to what Mark had, similar to what were in some of the other websites. This is being discussed. And I want to ask all the people on #TeamPhil, what are you going to do if there actually is a trade? Are you going to rail against the GM who you love? Are you going to rail against the coach who seems to have a bit of a problem with coaching Phil Kessel? Is it their fault? Are they part of the media that pushed him out? Come on, ask yourself this. At what point does the logo versus the one player come into the debate?
I think one thing that Ron pointed out, the word disconnect is probably that thing that stands out between not just the coach and the GM, between the coach and Phil Kessel, and that's probably something else that'll be explored as we go through the offseason. But right now, we'll take you around the horn for our smooth move of the week, brought to you by Pittsburgh's largest supplier of the smoothest granite, marble, and quartz countertops. It is Armina Stone. Colin, we'll start with you. Your smooth move of the week.
Smooth move of the week. 2 pitchers in the American League, Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer, for not backing off their hate. They hate each other, and they didn't gloss it over. They just said, you know what? We hate each other from our days at UCLA, and we're not going to make nice. We hate each other. I like healthy hate.
I'll go with Alexander Ovechkin. I wouldn't mind seeing him lift the cup. I know that's sacrilegious to say in this town. He has grown on me, what he has done with his team this year, leading them past the Penguins. No one thought they were going to win. He certainly let them past Tampa Bay, and no one thought they would win that. Finally, he's playing for the cup. I'd love to see Fleury win, but you know what? I'll settle for Ovechkin if it comes to that.
I'll go with Joe Giordano and the Pitt baseball team for getting as far as it did in the ACC tournament. I think it's the semifinal, and I believe West Virginia's team got to the final as well. So if I got that right, I think I do. Congratulations to both clubs for getting that far.
I'm going to cycle back to Washington like Ron. I'm going with Barry Trotz. I think the adjustments that Washington has made on defense has made all the difference. Shutting out Tampa in back-to-back games to win the Eastern Conference Finals, I think is a pretty big deal in and of itself. And that's our Smooth Moves of the Week, brought to you by Armida Stone, who features Pittsburgh's largest indoor stone gallery of granite and marble countertops imported from all over the world to give you the smoothest countertops in the area. Score a touchdown with new granite countertops from Armida Stone.